Good afternoon, everyone. It is Wednesday, December 15th, 2021 at 3 o'clock p.m., and that means it's time for Women in Business. Today's show is a little bit different in that we have our fifth man to be on the show today. Erin Montgomery and Kylene Montgomery, married, you can probably tell by the last name, are going to be on the show today to discuss marriage and how you make a business owning, business running couple, something I was trying to say, it didn't quite work, how you make that all work. And I'm sure most of you people who watch this show know who Erin and Kylene are, but I'm going to give you a little information before we start, just in case you aren't familiar with them. Kylene and Erin Montgomery are the preacher-teacher combo that small businesses need to achieve their idea of success. They are the guides for those small business superheroes who are overwhelmed and just don't have enough time in their day. They offer support through many different mindset enhancing programs, experiences such as Rise and Shine Yoga to our success groups, critical actionable resources like business fundamentals training, interactive workshops, advisory and action-oriented mastermind groups. They are both certified by New York Times bestselling author Jack Canfield as Success Principles Trainers. This is quite a resume we got going here. On top of the mindset support, they also support small businesses through wholesale production services, allowing their partners to expand their production capabilities. I need to breathe here, with more personalized sublimation gifts and apparel digital print wholesale services at Montco.biz. You can find Kylene sharing her thoughts on Gratitude Weekly on Thankful Thursdays and Erin sharing business advice weekly on Small Business Saturdays. So these guys give back to the industry all the time. They're amazing. You're going to love them. And I'm going to pop Kylene in, and here's Erin. Yay!
Hey!
So excited to see you both.
Yeah, great to be here.
Happy to be here.
I intentionally made that bio really long and hard to read just to, kind of take some of the pressure off.
I have to say, it was a bit of a challenge, and I had read it through a few times, but not out loud, and I should have done that so I could parse where I was supposed to breathe, because that's like old singing training. You go through and you figure out where the breaths are, and then you mark them.
Yeah.
But
well, my run-on sentences didn't leave you enough time to breathe, so we appreciate that. You did an awesome job.
Well, that's my fault too. I should have figured that out. But so we have a few people I want to say hi to. Josta is here from Sweden, and Cindy is here. Good afternoon. Looking forward to this great couple. Me too, me too. And I want to start off with a question that I have to preface by saying, I thought this when I didn't know you very well. But I want to start off with before I knew you guys as well as I do now. I mean, Kylene's been on my show. I've done interviews with Erin and had plenty of discussions with him. So I know you much better than I used to. When I first got to know you guys, I was a little worried for a while that maybe Kylene was being pushed into doing stuff instead of wanting to do stuff, because she seemed a little quieter. And like I said, didn't know you as well then. So I guess there's two questions here, but I'm going to start with this one first. How do you guys find the balance between pushing and motivating or supporting or whatever you want to call it? And I'm going to start with you, Erin, because why not?
Wow. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure I do find the balance. Kylene will probably be able to answer this better. No, my personality does kind of show, and Kylene and I have a nice kind of yin and yang going on. She definitely is quiet and supportive, but deep down, she's got this ability inside of her that is just incredible. And I am lucky because I get to spend every day with her and for the rest of our lives. And so I want to share that with everybody else. And that's where a lot of my pushing, hey, let's do this. And, let's try this and stuff like that. So, I'm certainly excited to hear what Kylene has to say, but I think that I think that it's kind of like our own personal comfort zones, that we do have to push those boundaries a little bit. And
Mm-hmm.
now Kylene and I have been fortunate enough that we've spent the years and the time and the energy communicating and building trust and doing all that stuff. So it does give me a little more free range to kind of push a little harder, that maybe somebody from the outside looking in would go, "Oh, what's he doing?" Um, but I think kind of in all healthy relationships, you need to kind of push the boundaries a little bit, kind of
Mm-hmm.
understand that, it's almost to me a little bit like a parent with their kids, or I coach volleyball. So I do the same thing with the
Right.
young men I get to coach, where it's about, um, believing in them to a point that maybe is even a little bit more belief than they currently have in themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so I never ask anybody else to do something that I don't believe that they can do. And so I guess, and that's kind of the way I was raised too. My parents pushed me even when I didn't feel like being comfortable in that. They
Right.
knew that I could do it. And so they didn't let up. And so I guess that's just kind of been my style, and it works sometimes. It doesn't work every time though. So Kylene.
Well, I want to, before we throw this to Kylene, I do want to put one thing in here that I thought I should clarify, which is
Yeah.
I fully recognize that some of my concern was caused by my own personal experiences and had nothing to do with you
Oh yeah,
guys.
absolutely. No, yeah.
So, I had some bad relationships and some bad experiences. So I was probably projecting a little bit, but
Well, I'm sure Kylene's had some bad experiences with me too. So
but I mean, it was kind of one of those things where I was like, do what? I don't know. Am I worried? Am I not worried? So what was your side of this, Kylene?
All right. Well, there's a lot here. But I think it
Okay.
really just comes down to your interpretation of how it makes you feel, right? We all have
Mm-hmm.
that comfort zone, and especially early on. So Aaron has the big vision, that's his personality type. He is
Mm-hmm.
always encourages and always sees and wants the best of people. Well, I transitioning from one career to this new career, really was holding on to that previous career and staying in that comfort zone. And so I think if I didn't have his strong support and
Mm-hmm.
encouragement, I don't think I would be where I'm at right now. Um, I mean, I would eventually get there, but it'd be a lot slower, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm really thankful for that. But I think it really comes down to just communicating, how
Mm-hmm.
you're feeling about, let's say Aaron's really like live videos for a while was early on was like the big
I
thing,
know.
you got to get out there, you got to share with people is what I would hear. And inside I was still dealing with, worrying about what people thought of me and worrying about all those other
Mm-hmm.
little things that I was growing and working on. So I was just able to communicate with him where I was at, and so he could decide how he wanted to take that, and I got to decide how it made me feel and make meaning from it. So I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I guess that's what I would tell other people. It's if it doesn't feel right to you, then you have to say something and
Right.
make it have.
Well,
Yeah, go ahead.
go ahead.
I was just going to say, just make it how it works for both of you. It's not just one person always
Mm-hmm.
encouraging and pushing. It has to work for both people, and just being able to communicate and having that
I
trust
agree with
is
that.
important.
And I think the other thing that the other half of this conversation a little bit is, how do you know when it is a toxic situation? Because I mean, like I said, I didn't know. Now that I have interviewed Kylene and I've spent some time talking to her, and I know that there is a core of steel in Kylene, that's like, she's not going to let anybody run over her. But if, there are relationships where that does happen, and it doesn't have to necessarily be the woman that it happens to. There are
Sure.
women who have run
Mhm.
over their men too. So, I think there's a couple lessons I want to bring up here. And one is, be aware of your own biases. Like I said, my experiences were making me concerned about something that had nothing to do with the two of you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It had to do with what I had experienced in my life. And then, like Kylene said, you have to speak up. And if you see something and you think that it's not right, or somebody's being pushed into something they don't want to do, you have to be the bridge, or the helping hand, I guess.
Yeah.
Would
Yeah.
be
my
theory on that. But I really wanted to ask this question because it now in retrospect, I go, oh geez, come on, what was I thinking? But I think it's an interesting balance, and everybody has to find their own balance. And one of the things I like about the two of you is what a great balance you seem to have found.
Yes.
So I'm going to segue a little bit and ask you another one of these fun questions that you're going to go, Christine, really? But seriously, how I'll be honest with you. You guys are kind of like my relationship goals, because I have never figured out how to do this kind of thing. And so I want to teach me, oh gurus, how do you find this balance? How did you find it? I mean, did you have it from the start, or is this something you've nurtured? And Kylene, I'm putting you on the spot first with this one.
I mean, again, it comes to communication and being open to having some hard conversations. I mean, Aaron and I have had lots of difficult conversations to just really work through and find that balance of what we both need out of the relationship. It hasn't, I wouldn't say it's always been super easy, but Aaron is a really good communicator, and I'm very fortunate for that. And I always thought I was a good communicator until I met him. And then I was like, okay. And just, really being vulnerable, trusting that relationship, letting your guard down a little bit and showing truly who you are. And for me at first, that was hard. And, but I would say that would be my advice on that, to how we got to this point.
All right, Aaron, you have any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, just a couple. I think that big part of all this is, to be real with people here. And, it's not, I know we'd have a tendency to kind of make it look good. I think we all do when we get on social media. It's not always all been rainbows and ponies all the time. We, like Kylene says, we've had the hard conversations, not hard, like, like they shouldn't be happening, and like hard, like it's outside of our comfort zone, but we have to tell each other the truth. And when we know that it's coming from that place of love, I think one of the things that we've been really successful at is kind of making sure that we both understand that no matter what the situation is, no matter what we're going through, whether that's a work thing or something with the kiddo or whatever, if there's a disagreement or some hard conversation that we have to have, it's always based on the fact that there's unconditional love that's kind of built there first. And then the rest of it, we can work out, and I've learned a ton along the way. I definitely have this personality of mine that is just not going to change. It is who I am, but I can understand, gain more empathy, be able to understand kind of both sides of the story a little bit better. And Kylene is really great at that, just kind of saying, hey, you have to make sure that you're looking at this from both sides of it. And then the other thing that we've been able to do is kind of layering on our success principles training and going into that very first principle, which, if you're not familiar with success principles, it's a book by Jack Canfield, but the very first success principle is called take 100% responsibility. And so that's where we kind of look at things like, okay, Kylene was talking about this earlier, I can have these feelings, but again, those are my choices to have those feelings, and vice versa, right? I can look at it through my lens, but that's, again, my choice. So at the end of the day, all I can control are my own thoughts and actions. And then I have to control those and make sure that they're jiving with what Kylene needs at that any given moment. So I think it's a pretty interesting balancing act. And I wouldn't say there's a magic bullet. I would just say it takes work and takes that desire to have that balance.
Well, and I think both of you have mentioned now a couple of times, you have to own your feelings and you have to communicate them.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, and that's, I think, where some people go wrong, is either they don't communicate how they feel because they're concerned that they're going to hurt the other person, or they're going to make the other person angry or disappoint them, or whatever it is. And it's like, if you're not speaking real, if you're not telling your real feelings and what you really want, then how can the other person see? I learned stuff.
I love it. Hey, Christine, I can give a quick real world kind of like real example of that.
Yes, please.
This is where I get myself in trouble a little bit. Is there'll be times where it's like, okay, I get this thing in my head where it's like, you know, if Kylene really was this or that, or really, you know, wanted this, she would do this. And the reality is that that's not true. What she's doing is exactly what she needs to be doing in that moment.
Mhm.
I just had that expectation. So if I don't communicate it and just expect her to, you know, fall in line or whatever, A, that's dumb, because nobody's going to do that. It is a partnership. But
Right.
B, I don't do any good for myself, because then I put myself in a bad spot, situation, mood, attitude, whatever, and it just kind of goes downhill from there. So I think that's one of the things that I've learned tremendously from the course of our relationship, is Kylene's really good at teaching and helping and counseling when it comes to that side of me. So,
Yeah.
Well, and that was her profession for a number of years. So
Yeah.
that stands to reason that she'd be good
Yeah.
at it. But there's a comment here from Nikki Ademkowitz that I want to read. Marriage isn't always 50-50, and it takes a lot of listening to the heart. Truly listen. There are days when I need to give 100% and he takes 100%, and vice versa. It's about having a partner in crime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that's true. I mean, if you think it's always going to be straight down the middle, 50-50, or, you know, if you have an expectation of that, you're probably going to be disappointed, because sometimes you have to give all of it. And sometimes you need to take everything, because that's.
Yeah.
And Yosta has a question here. Did your communication shift when you get, I'm assuming that's kids.
Kids, yeah.
So when you had Lewis, did your communication shift?
I mean, I definitely think it probably was forced to become even like clearer, to make sure we really were staying on the same page. You know, Aaron has I think our parenting styles are similar, but, you know, Aaron's different than I am. And, you know, I might nurture a little bit more at times.
No way.
No way, not that.
But yeah, I think it added another level. And then going into business together, you know, that adds a whole nother level to, and the importance.
Well, and that's the kind of next thing that I want to hit on. And I want to start with something that Aaron said on a show a while back. And don't ask me which episode of Two Regular Guys this was, but you were talking about when Kylene had first left her office job and had gone into starting her own business, she had expectations about how she was going to spend more time with Lewis, and she was going to keep the house clean, and she was going to cook every night, and she was going to do all. And then reality set in, and she realized. But what you said that kind of struck me is, you said, and I never expected that she was going to be responsible for keeping the house clean. I never expected that she was going to be the only one to, you know, that it wasn't solely her job to do all that stuff. It was a partnership. And that's, I think, if I had to guess, probably men in your generation and younger have more that mindset than men that are older. Who, you know, I grew up with a father that was like, I don't have to cook, I don't have to clean, I have 2 daughters. You know, that was his attitude.
Yeah.
So I guess just to be curious and a little bit nosy, how do you split that stuff up? Is there like a chore list?
No.
Fortunately, you know, we know what has to be done. We have,
Mm-hmm.
you know, everyone has the chores in your house. And
Right.
for the most part, I mean, there's certain tasks that maybe I handle more than him. Like I do more of the laundry and that type of stuff. And but Aaron jumps in there. If he sees it, he'll put the laundry away. He'll fold the laundry. He'll bring it down. I guess I don't have expectations that I'm solely responsible for it.
Mhm.
If anything, I might put that responsibility on myself.
Right.
But I mean, I think if it needs to get done, one of us just jumps in there.
Yeah.
You can take that, Aaron, a little bit
Yeah.
deeper if you want.
I mean, to me, it definitely does come back to just kind of what the expectations are. And then what you talked about earlier on, Christine, too, kind of our lens and how we look at things, because we each have different needs. If it were up to me, we've got lots of clothes, right? We've got a closet full of stuff that we've accumulated over the years. And if it was up to me, we'd have stacks of laundry, and then we just do a big laundry day. And so that's why I don't normally jump on it first, because I don't have this need to get it done. But Kylene does a great job with it, and she has taken it. And when there's stuff to do, then yeah. And the same thing with anything, typically I'm taking out the trash. I don't know why. Not like Kylene told me, okay, you take out the trash because I'm doing the laundry. It was just kind of like, okay, she's getting some stuff done around the house. I need to get some stuff done around the house too. So I normally end up taking out the trash at that point. And so I think a lot of it did come back to this idea of clearly communicating if there were expectations, and then realizing that the only expectations that we can expect is just what we need for ourselves. And if we need help with something, we just have to communicate that. And we've done a really good job of doing that, and finding, there's just different things at different times that come up. I love to cook, and I wish I did it more often. We'd be a lot better off if I did. Not that Kylene doesn't cook. What ends up happening is neither of us want to cook, and we go out to dinner too much, and then we eat crappy food, that kind of thing. So it really does come back to what Kylene was saying there too, is there's things that have to be done. And so we just get it done as we can, and they'll still be there the next day sometimes. So.
Well, yeah. Well, what I like about that is there's kind of this trope in the culture of the wife has to be mommy almost and tell the husband what to do and all. And I always think, and what I like about what you're saying is you're both adults. You both have an understanding of there's a house to maintain, there's clothes to clean, there's dishes to wash, there's food to cook, there's a child to take care of. And you're both, adult people and can figure out what needs to be done and do it. Because I think a lot of times, and this is culturally, it's not a knock on men, but a lot of times men are kind of allowed to abdicate the responsibility a little bit. Like the wife is supposed to tell them what they need to do. And I think that's something that we really need to work. And I think it's already changing, but I think we need to work to model that behavior more, that it's not, men are not overgrown children. They're adults.
Some days.
Some men are not overgrown children. They're adults. And some women too. I mean, there are women who have the same issue, but I just like the idea that you're both adults, you both know what needs to happen, and you'll both take care of it if you have the time and ability to do so, or work it out between the two of you who's going to handle it. So
I mean, I think it comes down to changing your expectations for appreciation. Whatever that other person is contributing, just appreciate that, because you're all working together towards.
Oh, I think that's a really good point too, because that's something that women encounter a lot, is that they put a lot into making a nice house and making nutritious meals and doing, and it's just kind of assumed that that's part of their duties as a member of the gender or something. I don't know. I don't really know how to put that. I was trying to think of how to put that properly, but it's women's work, I guess. So I don't really love that. And I want to just pop back and say hi to a few, because you guys are popular apparently, because a lot of people are here. Mashid is here. Hello, everyone from California.
Hello.
Carolyn is here. I'm assuming Carolyn Cagle. Sheila. Hi, y'all. Let's see. Nikki is here. We knew that. Tanya is here.
Tanya.
So I'm just really pleased to see everybody. Oh, Jeff and Adam are here. Cindy's asking, is the volume low today? Is anybody else having trouble hearing? Because I think we're fine as near as I can tell.
Sounds good on my side, but
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't had any problem hearing anybody. So if anybody else is having problems hearing anything, please let us know. I'm going to move on to another question, which is okay, good. Jeff says sounds good here. So I'm glad to hear that. This is something that you all have talked about before that I really, really like. And I want to get some insight into how you do this, which is, I'm not sure if this is a weekly thing or a monthly thing or whatever it is, but you have both talked at separate times about like your day or where you sit down, not really a date necessarily, but where you sit down and like organize your schedules and your goals and what you're doing. And it's typically over breakfast, I think. I don't really, I'm trying to remember the details.
You got them right.
Kind of, after the fact. But I want to talk about this because first of all, I think it's a brilliant idea and something that I put a pin in for, if I ever meet my Prince Charming, I would like to have this idea. But where did this come from? Why did you let's start with that. Where did this come from? Why did you decide to do it? And Aaron, I'm going to hit you.
Okay. All right. Well, when we decided that we were going to go into business together and be involved in each other's businesses, because we do separate things a little bit, but
sure,
we're in business together. Our dog wants to join the conversation. Sorry about that.
That's fine.
So we actually have. Kylene, do you want to?
I'll go.
Right, sorry.
Sorry.
It's all right.
Normally we get her. Anyhow, so when we decided we wanted to go into business together, I've been involved in lots of different businesses, and you kind of have a stand up, a weekly meeting. You just kind of have to keep everybody on the same page. And so we were looking at like, okay, how do we do that? And we tried different times and places, and because it's not really a date, like you said, it's definitely more of
it's a business
meeting than a date, but it's a great opportunity to get together and chat. So we actually need to do more date nights, but that's just a note to self more than anything. So yeah, the ideas kind of came from that, right? If we're going to be in business together, we have to get on the same page with each other. Kind of, again, going back to just like stuff around the house, who's doing what and what are the expectations and what do we need help with and what are we working on. And so our meetings typically kind of run the gamut of like, here's just a little, we need to get this stuff done, or here's the big goals that I'm working on, or something like that. So yeah, that's where it started. But Kylene, what or Christina, however you want to pass that along, I'd love to hear her thoughts on it too.
Well, I'd like to hear what Kylene, what was your goal behind doing this, Kylene? Same thing mostly, or
yeah. I mean, I think removing us out of our environment, going to another location was really important. Just because we're free of those other distractions, so we could just focus on the whatever topics we needed to talk about that day. But it's been really nice to make sure we're both staying connected and moving towards the same goals, because I can get lost a little bit in my head and don't always share that with Aaron. Where I'm headed.
Yep.
And so
I do the same thing. So
yeah. So it's a way for us to make sure we come back together to where, so we're moving together, and not one person going this way, the other person going this way. And then you have some real difficulties, I think, if you go too far away to come back. So that's kind of been the bonus.
Okay. And I like the whole checking in with each other thing to make sure that, you're on the same page as far as what the goals are, especially since you guys both do your own things, but you also work together. So there's and then you have a son. And I mean, there's a lot of moving parts to all this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
to make sure that everything is covered and everybody's getting what they need. And so what is the mechanics of this though? I mean, do you guys like sit there with your bacon and eggs and your planners, or?
Yep. Yeah, really is. So one of the biggest mechanics though, Christine, is the fact that we have it on our calendar as like a set in stone. Like if we're not going to do it, we communicate just like we would with anybody else that we had an appointment with, right? We instead of it just being, oh yeah, okay, are we going to do it this week or not? And it's like every Thursday morning, we typically go to the same place because I'm a creature of habit, but we go out to breakfast and like you said, we bring our notebooks and our planners, and we don't necessarily have a very specific agenda, but it's kind of like, okay, what are you working on, and what questions do you have, and so it just gives us an opportunity to have, like Kylene said, have those bigger discussions, or just kind of like, hey, here's something that I'm working on that I need help with, without the distractions of everything else that we have to do, right? The pile of laundry, the dishes, the stuff that we have to do for the business, and the computer and all that other stuff. It's just us sitting there. And then one other component of it that I really like is that monthly, we also have a little part of that. So like the first Thursday of every month, we have what we call our monthly celebration, where each of us goes back through our list of things that we did the month before. And we talk about we each have to come up with 25 things that we're proud of from the month before. And we actually share those things out loud with each other. And that gives us an opportunity to kind of celebrate and then understand, what kind of moves the needle for each of us. I might sit and think that this is really important, and Kylene might think something else is really important. And that's really cool to help us understand each other. And then the other part of the monthly check-in, Kylene, how does that goes well?
The 7 areas of your life, right? Or is it 8 on there? I don't remember. Anyway,
7.
Different areas of your life, and you rank how you feel it is going. And the fun one on there is love and relationships. And so when I'm not at a 10, I get a little curious why I'm not at a 10. So anyway, it just opens up conversation, and it's good. We have fun with it.
Yeah.
I love that. You're not at a 10 this month.
Yeah. I think
What
I was
can
at
I
an 8
do
the other
to
month.
get back to a 10?
Yeah. So anyway, it's just a good way to again come back to communication and making sure we're really being there for each other and understanding what's happening.
Yeah.
Well, I want to throw out a few more comments here because we've had some nice ones coming in. Yosta says the trick is to treat home like the workplace, not as a hotel. Then stuff gets done on time. I think that's true. And I have no clue, Kylene, I have no clue how to pronounce this last name.
Shay. That's
Kathy
my mom.
Fisher Shea. She says, hi, enjoying your view on working together. I thought she was probably related to you, but I've meant to ask several times because I had no idea. And then Rena says, love that you have your meeting away from the house. Yeah. And what I love about this is that you have a built-in warning system too. If you do have any issues, if there is something that's coming up that's making one of you sad or mad or frustrated or whatever it is, you have a set time and a neutral place where you can go and talk about it. And it's a place where it's going to actually kind of facilitate communication because it's a restaurant. So if you do want to have a loud screaming fight, which I don't know if you guys ever do that, and I hope not, but people do. It's less likely to happen there, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's really kind of there's a lot of really smart stuff happening here. And this leads me to my next kind of question. See how I'm segueing? I love this.
Very nice. Yeah, very good.
And that is, again, this is kind of a two-parter, but the first part of it is, what have you learned from the training that you've had that you're bringing to your relationship? Everything? Is there something that sticks out? Is there something that you didn't do before you had the training that you do now? That's like, I realize that's like about 4 questions.
We can do it.
I'm sorry. But let's just start with this. Since you've been certified as Success Principles trainers, how has anything in how you deal with your relationship changed? Let's start with that one first.
Well,
And I'll go with Kylene. Let's start with you.
okay. Well, I definitely think that we are trying to live the success principles. They are so powerful, and every day, you're still learning. We're still learning every day. But I would say, just the first success principle, taking 100% responsibility for yourself, has probably been the most powerful. And again, that goes with just having a relationship with someone. Aaron's not a mind reader. He's not going to be able to know what I want. So if I'm having this outcome that I'm not liking, I feel like I have like this power. I don't know, this words now to put to how
Right.
I'm feeling and how we can better communicate. For me, I think that was probably the most powerful in our relationship that we've implemented.
Well, I totally get that, because I think part of what Success Principles does, and I'm not certified. I've not read the book. I mostly know about this from you guys, but the bits that I've seen, it gives you a language.
Yeah.
To kind of address what, so I like what you said, because, it gave you a language that you could use to express what you wanted to say, which is a hugely valuable thing, because communicating's hard. You may not have noticed that.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
But Aaron, what do you think? How has it made a difference for you?
Yeah. I think I agree with what you guys said there, that having that common language to then be able to, again, make those communications harder, because, like, for example, if somebody's listening to this and they're saying, okay, I want to implement this into my marriage, and I'm going to go to the restaurant so we don't have the big screaming matches.
Right.
But you got to remember that you don't want to also chicken out on those hard discussions either.
Well,
You got to have them, but at a restaurant, you're going to do it in a little more calm and adult way. But so the communication is definitely a big part of it. I think the other thing that's been helpful for our marriage is we've realized that it kind of, and we knew this all along. I think we all know how things work. But by having that language, we now feel like we have this roadmap of, yes, I might not get there tomorrow, but I know that I'm on the right path if I'm kind of following these principles.
Right.
And so we know, and what we've discovered through the training that we went through and being able to share this stuff is, not only does it help with our personal lives, it's something we can put into play in our business lives. It's something we put into play in our parenting. So every single aspect, friends, all that stuff, every single aspect of our lives is affected by saying, okay, I know how to do this. Now it's up to me to just start implementing these tools that I now have. And again, we all have them. It's just we don't necessarily have a language or a process or system to put them into play. So that's been, to me, the biggest thing for Success Principles is the more we integrate it into all parts of our lives, the better things get and the easier things get.
I love it. Well, apparently, Yosta feels that his wife needs to see this episode. You must have said something that made an impact with him. Now, the next part of my Success Principles thing is, this is an interesting question that didn't really occur to me until I started kind of reading and thinking about you guys a little bit. And so now you're like, in our circle of people, you guys are like the Success Principle gurus, sort of. So do you feel pressure to be like, everything's great, everything's wonderful, my marriage is perfect, we're perfect, everything's good, we've got it all down, because you're, I don't want to say you're selling this system, but you're the examples for this system. So, and I'm hitting Aaron with this one first because he was laughing. So,
Yeah, okay. Well, pressure maybe a little bit, but I think that's also part of it. I think we need pressure in general to get better. One of the principles actually is a principle called act as if. And so a big part of that is, okay, maybe I'm not exactly where I need to be right now today, but if I were to take 100% responsibility, go back to that, and then from there say, okay, what would my life look like if I was there? So, but on the flip side of that, I don't think either of us, I know I'm not that way, and Kylene doesn't do this either, is we're going to be authentic at the same time. Yeah. So yes, we want to share these principles, but yes, we're going to be honest with you and tell you that there are times where we go, everybody's working on them all the time. So we're going to try to be examples as best we can. But for me, it's about kind of acting as if, and putting myself in a place where if I can help people, then I'm living in my greatness zone, and that's going to work for me and hopefully the rest of the world.
Okay. Kylene, you have anything to add, or did he cover that one?
Excuse me. Sorry. No, I think Aaron did a great job covering it. Sometimes I'll be a little bit hard on myself because I'm still going through all this, right? We're still learning and implementing and growing every day. So yes, sometimes, that thought will pop up, and then I have to remember, I'm just like everyone else, and I just maybe know a little bit more about it so I can share it with people, and then they can go on their own journey. We all have our own. It looks different for everyone, and how we grow and learn and process the information. And so, no, we don't have it all together, but we're working at it, and want to share what we know with others. And so,
yeah.
Well, and honestly, in my opinion, the most effective advocates for any program or system or belief or thought or whatever you're trying to impart to people is the people who say, we're still learning this too. We're works in progress, just like you. We just have had some training that you guys haven't had.
Yeah.
So, and I want to, before I ask the next question, I want to go in here and just show everybody, where is it? Okay. So we've got Rise and Shine Yoga here. We've got our success group. But wait, there's more. We've got Montco.biz. We've got, well, this is the Facebook page for Weheart.biz. We've got Weheart.biz, the website. And then there's also Crunchy Beauty or something, which I could not find. Sorry about that. But so obviously you all have a lot going on. And I also know from experience that Aaron is a little bit like me in that we tend to generate projects like, I don't know, our brains are always in 50 million different directions, and we have a lot of, we're kind of congenitally incapable of going, no, I don't think we should do that.
Yeah, it's not something
Am I
I've ever
wrong
learned.
about that, Aaron, or am I right?
Not at all. It's why we get along so well.
Yeah.
You're the one person I met that generates as much as I do when it comes to that.
Well, and I think in one sense, that's a good thing. In another sense, if you're the person that lives with a person who's like that, how do you manage that? I mean, first of all, how do you, I guess, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this question the right way. And I don't really know how to, how do you manage it is not the question that I want to ask. And how do you live with it sounds like pejorative, and I don't want to say that. But I guess that's really the question is, how do you live with that? If you're living with a person who's always coming up with new things. I mean, not that you're a slouch in this area, Kylene, at all, but how do you deal with somebody who's always coming in going, hey, I talked to this person and we could do this. And hey, there's maybe this. And how do you handle that?
I always come back to the excitement and joy that Aaron has from it, because that's what makes him excited. That's what makes him thrive and be energized to keep moving forward. So who am I to say, whoa, 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 slow down.
Right.
I might ask some questions, but it's nothing that he hasn't already thought about.
Mhm.
And I think I just support him in any way he goes, because he has a really clear roadmap of what he wants to achieve. And so I think I'm speaking for you, Aaron, like you're not here, but but you
Fine.
always come. I trust that he'll always come back to that why, that purpose.
Mhm.
And I do speak up if I feel like something might be too much.
Mhm.
Yep.
And share my concerns about that. But man, if I were to start squashing all those ideas, things would not go well. I mean, that's just, that's what I love about him, and that's
Mhm.
his strength. That's his personality. He is able to do all of that, and he does it well. So,
Well, and I think, not to put Aaron on the spot here, but he also has a track record of he's not someone who comes up with ideas and abandons things halfway through, or comes up with things and goes, we should do this. No, wait, we should do this. No, wait, we should go over here, and
mhm.
nothing ever gets. I mean, if the ideas that he has come to fruition, they become things.
Yeah.
So, but I guess from your standpoint, Aaron, and I like this comment from Eric, there may be a few projects, right? How many shows a week now? So there's the half, and there's two regular guys, and there's TNA with our Q&A with TNA, and there's Small Business Saturdays.
Yeah. That's it right
Is
now.
that all of them?
I think that's it right now. We do a couple of Zoom calls for members and stuff like that, but yeah, that's about it.
Yeah.
That's plenty.
And Tuesdays with Todd is Todd, so you're not
Yeah,
usually on
I don't
that
have to
one.
show up for that one, fortunately.
But I mean, I
Mhm.
identify with you, Aaron, because
Yep.
I think we do have the same mindset in
Yep.
that but I think the other half of it too, and tell me if I'm wrong about this, is a lot of the times the ideas come up because we're trying to either do something that'll benefit our community,
Yep.
or we're trying to put good in the world somewhere.
Yep.
And we're just the people that come up with the way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I agree with that, Christine. I mean, you have a really clear, seems like, mission roadmap too. And I think that's what allows us to do that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Because what people don't see from us, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, Christine, is that there's a ton of stuff that we actually do say no to. It's just there's just the volume is so high that it seems like
Mhm.
a lot. Because if it doesn't fit into what Kylene was saying, if it doesn't kind of get me excited because I'm getting more clear on what my purpose is, and so it is definitely one of those things where it is just kind of finding the right fits, getting excited about it.
Right.
And then I appreciate that you shared, it is important to me that I do what I say I'm going to do. And I don't get it right all the time. I mean, there's plenty of things where I've kind of let things go, or, tried to
Mhm.
beg for forgiveness at the end, but my goal is to not do that. So like, we had a video not too long ago, and I made like, oh, here's what I'm gonna do in 2022. And I'm like, oh crap, Aaron, keep your mouth shut, because I need to go back and watch the video and find out what I need to actually ask for forgiveness for, or if I can pull it off. And so, yeah,
Yep.
it is an interesting dichotomy to think about all of those different things. But as long as it's fitting in, like you, I've just found this easy mechanism to quickly say yes or no to things, because if it
Mhm.
fits inside the mission, it's a yes. If not, then it's a no, and it's kind of go from there.
Well, I think it's just interesting to me. And again, like I said, you guys are my relationship class that I'm taking. So you didn't know it, but the universe has given me this relationship class. So I'm mining it for everything I can get here. But this is something that I have encountered in past relationships, is that either number one, you always have so many things going, or number two, which I hate, you're intimidating because you're always trying to you're always taking the lead on these projects, and you're always trying to do all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, so leaving aside the fact that, yes, I had horrible taste in men when I was younger. I get that. But, well, I'll admit it. It's something I had to learn. you have to find I guess you have to find the person that, and I don't know, Aaron, you'll have to tell me if I'm right about this, but you have to find the person that balances you somehow. And I think one of the things that I've always loved about Kylene is that she's very calm. And, maybe you're not really, but that's the impression that you give off, is that you're kind of serene and you're kind of calm and not a lot's going to shake you.
Yes.
And that, I think, I can see how that would balance Aaron and his calm. Kind of more volcano-ish stuff.
Yeah.
And so I think and both of you tell me if I'm wrong about this. I think part of the way to make things work is to find someone who balances you a little bit. Am I right about that? Have I learned another principle of what a good relationship is?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you can't change anyone. You just have to appreciate what they're all about. And Aaron's always been very clear, and I'm sure you've always been very clear about who you are as a person and what's important to you. If I were to sit here and say you're overwhelming me with all this stuff, that's not supporting him in any way. I do say it sometimes, though, when he gives me all these ideas, and I personally can't process all of that stuff. Like, but he's able to do that, and you're able to do that.
Yeah.
And those are your strengths, and that should be celebrated instead of.
Yeah, I was a hot mess for many, many years. The person that you guys know now was not always the person I was. Let's put it that way. But I got there in the end. And we have some more comments here that I want to put up.
Yeah.
Jeff Fuller says, I feel like a hot mess sometimes. It's tough to stay focused and follow up on things. Yeah, I get that sometimes. And Eric says, have a system. There you go. Eric says, I'm with you, Jeff. So much I want to do for so many people. Hard to not feel like you are missing a step or letting folks down when the follow-up is different. Okay. Eric, I love you. You know that. But oh my God, you are so hard on yourself.
Yes, agreed.
And I really, really, really wish you would stop doing that, because you give so much to so many people. And that's my segue. But then Eric also says, I must be super crazy. Aaron is who helps me get calm. I think I owe Kylene for helping him deal with it.
Yes, you do, Eric.
Oh, that's funny. And Todd says, controlled chaos. Yes.
Loosely controlled.
Loosely controlled chaos. But I guess where I want to end this, because we're getting close to the end here, and I don't want to keep you guys longer than an hour, because I know you have a ton of stuff going on. But if you had one tip to give somebody like me, maybe, who is trying to figure out how to build a good relationship for themselves, what would you tell them? What would be your number one tip? And who should I put on the hot seat first? I'm going to start with Aaron, just because it's fun.
Good. Yeah. Kylene can be the headliner, the closer here, because I think for me, the biggest takeaway that I've learned through our relationship, we got together later on in life. I'm previously married and divorced. And so, I made all the mistakes and had plenty of learning and stuff like that. I think the one thing that really stands out to me that Kylene and I were able to do really well from the very beginning was to get over the whole, like, we got to impress each other. And we were kind of who we are and just wore that. I think both of us were in a place where we weren't all that, like, have to find somebody kind of thing. And so we were just kind of like, this is who I am. If you like it, cool. And we both liked it. We met and then both moved to different states pretty shortly thereafter and still made it work. So we knew that it was the right thing, but we stopped with let's try to impress each other and let's just be real. And if you like what you see, then we're going to be good. And that helped us with that communication early on too. We were able to communicate more clearly and quickly by doing that.
Well, I love that, because then when you do go into a relationship, you really know the person.
Yeah. Now, Kylene does.
Well, and I also think that's funny because like for a lot of women, I know women who are like, if I'm dating somebody, they never see me without makeup, and I always wear high, I'm always dressed and I'm like, how are you going to sustain that forever? At some point, they're going to have to see you in sweats. It's just gonna,
Yeah.
that's if you want to have like a real relationship with this person, they're going to have to see you with no makeup and bedhead and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's just going to be how it is.
Yeah, the sooner you can go deep, I think into the reality of daily life is the better. I think we'll be there. Now, I know Kylene will say that there's some false advertising from time to time. So apparently, I cuddled a little bit more when we were first together. But other than that, I think we do okay.
It's very true.
You're probably not the only man who ever did that. So
probably.
Well, I want to throw in one quick comment from Todd here. He says, my life has been full of bad choices and little regret. It's made me who I am, which I think is a really good attitude. And I'm kind of there with you, Todd. I made some bad choices too, but they taught me the lessons I needed to learn to get to where I am. So, but anyway, Kylene, what would you say is your tip other than make sure that if he cuddles you in the beginning, he's going to want to cuddle you later?
No false advertising. But just be okay with your needs. Your needs are just as important as the other person's. So being sure that you're communicating that and just trusting that if they're not open to how you're feeling and what you want, then maybe it's not the right fit, and don't hope that things will change, just trust early on and have those conversations and just really just have a mindset of appreciation. I think it goes a long ways in a relationship.
Well, I can speak from experience on the don't hope they'll change thing because in my 20s and 30s, I was the queen of, I will save them with my love. And so I dated like all these guys who had so much problems and I was going to fix them. It does not work. Find one who's already fixed. Not that way, but find one who's his own person and sane and then date them. That's the way to go.
Yeah.
And then grow together.
And then grow together and then communicate and you can get things right. Well, I want to put up one more time all the stuff here. So Rise and Shine Yoga, if you haven't seen that, that's Kylene's thing on Thursday mornings. Yes.
Yep.
Okay. And then, of course, our success group, we all know. And Montgomery.biz, that is the production end, correct? Or is that supplies?
Yeah. No, that's the production end. We do have some supplies, but mainly production there. Yeah.
Okay. And Weheart.biz is gifts.
Yep. The retail side. Yep.
Okay. And then also, I don't have links for them, but Thankful Thursday, which I love, which reminds us all, Kylene does that one on Thursdays it's 2 p.m. my time, 1 p.m. Central.
Yeah, 1 Central.
So 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Center of the Universe time, as Aaron would say. And I love that show. I love that you do that every week, Kylene. Even if I don't get to see it when it happens live, I go back and watch them later because it does remind me to be thankful. So I appreciate that. And then Aaron does Small Business Saturdays, which is now available to everyone again, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
And I want to catch these last few comments here real quick and see if there's anything. Cindy says, thank y'all for sharing your story. And Tanya is letting me know that I'm not the only one that had the savior complex when I was younger. So she apparently did that with her ex as well. And Eric says, you can't go wrong tuning into either or both of these wonderful people. And I would agree with you on that. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being a masterclass in how to have a relationship. I love it. And Aaron, thank you for being the 5th gentleman on Women in Business. So,
I'm honored.
I'm trying to sneak the guys in a little bit where I can. But I appreciate this so much. And thank you, everybody, for being here and all your great comments. I love you all for taking the time. Next week, my guest will be Amanda Delaney. We're going to talk about mental health. It's going to be a great conversation. Please come and join us. And I'm going to hit end broadcast because I will keep talking and we'll be here for another half an hour. So thank you, everybody.